got the lovely Chantel here. This is Wisdom Leadership Series, and tonight we're going to be covering intuition and knowing. And yeah, thank you, Chantel, for creating this. Can't wait to get started and find out a little bit more, explore and discover further about all the different areas and aspects of intuition and knowing and how it can contribute to our wisdom leadership skills. So over to you, Chantel.
Awesome. Thank you. Woohoo. Thanks for joining. I love it. It's an evening for you and it's the afternoon for
I
me.
know, it's 8:15.
Yeah, because you're near London, England, and I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. How awesome is that? I love that. Or across the continent.
I know.
So I just want to, before we move into this topic, I want to just give a little bit of a background. Like I created this book, Wisdom Leadership, just in the summer. It literally downloaded in about 6 days. And I was just thinking of all these amazing leaders we have in the world that are like, you know, Deepak Chopra and Gary and Dane here and, you know, Tony Robbins. And like a lot of people are starting to just look to them like, help me change my life. And I was just thinking like how they're amazing leaders, hands down. And the qualities that I have about the wisdom leaders are definitely, they embody all of them.
Yeah.
But how can we as leaders start embodying those? So we're not, it's a lot of pressure, I think, on them to hold everybody. And how can more of us become some of those leaders so we can shift ourselves and shift other people around us? And it's not all on the shoulders of these 5 or 6 or 7, you know, leaders in the world. And even Deepak Chopra, you know, has a book that came out saying, I'm not your guru, you know, like, I don't think they want to be our guru. So that was kind of the whole, you know, that was part of why I wrote this, or why I think it just kind of, it came out. So,
yeah. And I don't think it's a great possibility within the book to really start to empower people to acknowledge their own, you know, wisdom leadership skills and not seeing anybody as more than who they truly be, because we all have that within us.
right.
It's having, you know, say like Access or Deepak or whoever it is, just to show us that way of how to acknowledge that within ourselves. I mean, that's just a great space for people to help create it. But for us ultimately to be aware that, you know, we are that, we be that, and what skills can we unlock within ourselves that are already there that would create even more of that, and how we will impact everybody around us, really.
I wonder what is getting in the way of people feeling that they don't have those capacities.
Possibly judgment, self-judgment that we've kind of picked up from everybody else, from who we've been brought up with, you know, just not having that self-confidence and self-belief. And, you know, perceiving that, because that is a lot of how it is in this reality, that you have to look upon somebody else.
Well, and if you look at
provide that for you.
Yeah. And if you look at celebrities, it's almost like we look up to celebrities like, oh, wow, look at the celebrity. They're amazing. And, you know, I've been in the film industry in Vancouver recently. And so I've been on set with, I mean, I was on 50 Shades Darker. So the main characters of those, right? And I was on like, I've been on, there's a new one called Frequency, you know, and I've been on about 15 or 16 TV and movies, and they're just regular people. They're just, you know, like, yeah, they're excellent actors and that's their craft, but they're regular people. But we put them on this pedestal like, oh my God, they're a celebrity, you know?
Absolutely. And it's the expectation that we have of them to keep fulfilling that role as well. You know, I mean, a lot of the celebrities who fall, you know, who perhaps, I don't know, go into rehab, this, that, and the other, because the pressure's too much, and they're so very aware of the judgments, of the points of view, and all of the projections that are placed on them. And that's the same for ourselves, you know, and it's not putting anybody else more than, and just being at total ease and, you know, kind to ourselves.
And so clearing, like, so any, you know, decisions, judgments, computations, conclusions that we have about not being a leader, not being as grand as a celebrity or as a, you know, as a Gary or a, you know, anything that's getting in the way of that, let's destroy and uncreate all of that.
Yeah. And everything that is destroy and uncreate times a gazillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyond. And everywhere that we perceive that and pick that up from other people, let's return all of that to senders.
Yes.
With consciousness attached to.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyond. You know, we're just so phenomenally aware. And the more that we work within ourselves, the more we clear, the more aware we become.
Yeah.
And it's just so important to know that none of this is our stuff. And the great tool from Access, Who Does It Belong To, is just such a contribution and changed my life.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I tried to break down too, okay, so if we want people to embody this type of, you know, this leadership, well, what do some of these leaders do instinctively, right? Or that maybe they don't do it instinctively, but they've learned, or they've, you know, honed these skills. And so that's what I kind of came up with this wisdom. So there's one for each letter. So one was being a warrior. I mean, if you look at Dane standing up, having someone's back, I mean, wow, he goes to the extreme. I mean, and I've experienced it in a number of classes.
Yeah.
Same with Tony Robbins. Like, he will have someone's back when he's doing a session. Like, that is a warrior.
Yeah.
And so that's W. So I is intuition and knowing, and we're gonna take a deeper dive into that in a bit. But they just, all of a sudden they're like, okay, we need to go here. We need to go here. Like, they have this ability to just pick up on what the group needs.
Absolutely. They just hold the space, and they're just so aware. And they've built the muscle with that
they build the muscle and intuition.
And they must have more, they must be trusting what they're receiving and their intuition, implicitly too. And that's a muscle that we build, and that's a muscle that we work with. And it's something that I still, am working with and building.
Yeah. And so that's the one we want to take a deep dive and get into some examples and stuff too. The third one is safety. That's what you said. They create this incredible safe space that you feel that you can, I remember the first session I was at, I would love to have a child, and I would love to, meet this, male partner. But I never wanted to share it with anyone. Like, it was a secret because I'm 43. Oh my God, that can't happen in this reality. And so it was just like, because I was in this incredibly safe space, I was able to share it. And it just, like, the doors open. I felt so free, and for the first time in almost 10 or 11 years, like, it was amazing. So
and it's being willing to be vulnerable and be open, and to and put your barriers down, and to receive, and everything. So
WIS safety. D is diversity, being diverse. I mean, I think that's one thing I love about Access is, like, everyone's invited. It's all cultures, all ages, all backgrounds, like,
no limitations,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Love that.
And then openness, and then mastery. So openness is about just being, I think what I saw this when I wrote it was, and I mean, again, when we do the openness call, we'll get more detail, but it's just seeing people's gifts and being open to seeing them. Because a lot of times people don't see their own gifts.
Yep.
And I think that's another quality that they have. And then the last one is mastery, like just being a master in their craft, like an athlete is, or, when they're in front of a group, that's mastery. Like, they just flow. It looks so easy. It's not easy, but it looks so easy, right? Oh my
Absolutely.
God.
And you don't acknowledge that, and it's like, well, where are you already being that you're not acknowledging it? It is, so many things you can't say, well, I don't do that. And actually, when you look back, well, not look back, but look at what you've created already, and where to acknowledge where you are already being all of those things, and then just actually putting it all into action.
So let's take a deep dive into intuition and knowing. So we have a bit of time today on that one.
Cool.
Anything you want to say about intuition and knowing?
For me, I'm still building the muscle with that, with trust, really. I've always been quite aware of what's been going on around me. I haven't always trusted it, but I have mostly followed what's been really light for me. And when I haven't, and for an example, I guess, would be if I've created a class or something like that, for instance, and I haven't followed, I've been so excited to get it out, but I haven't followed that whisper that I've received of not just yet, because it's not necessarily going to be received yet. My kind of excitement in wanting to put something out there. Sorry, that probably doesn't make sense. So when I haven't listened to my intuition and gone ahead with something, it hasn't always had the results that I would have liked. For an example, a class, I haven't received the number of clients that I would have liked to have had, or it just hasn't happened for whatever reason. And I kind of knew that at the time, but didn't listen to that whisper. If I'd have left it a few days, another week, another month, at the time when I'd have followed that, just that knowing, then it would have changed, you know. And, you know, you can still choose anyway. That's the beautiful thing. You have 10-second choices, so you can choose again. But that little things like that I've noticed. We've got a building work going on here. We had so many different builders, prices coming in, and you know, that was something we had to trust. I had to trust my intuition with that. I didn't really know, and it's work in progress at the moment, and fingers crossed it's going really, really well. But again, little things in life, it's always been with clients when I'm holding a space on a one-to-one session, it's trusting me and what I'm aware of with that person and what they'd be willing to receive in that moment that will create more for them. And if I give too much, and I have done that, I have to hold my hands up to that, when I've seen perhaps a space that I know they can go to, if they haven't been ready and I've chosen to anyway, then it hasn't necessarily created more for them.
Yes.
So little things like that, I hope that is a contribution. But for me, little things, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know for me, you know, a lot of it has been, I remember a lot of it has been in the work front. Like, I remember I finished grad school about 13 years ago in Toronto, and I started getting job offers, because that's what happens, right? You know, you're fresh out of school and you've got this, you know, you're excited and people pick up on that. And I knew I was coming back to Western Canada because my family was here. And so of course I got one offer, which was at this really cool corporate office called Agrium. And they had, oh my God, you walk into the office and it's circular, and, you know, there's like gorgeous prints all over and artwork, and, you know, they're just creative and innovative. And it was that kind of a energy. But they, you know, they hadn't really offered anything. And then of course I got the city of Edmonton, and it was like, oh yeah, permanent position, great money. I can't see you right now with the light.
No, it's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like it checked all the boxes. The city of Edmonton checked all the boxes, like great money. Oh, I was like a consultant in my field, organization develop, like all these things. But I remember I was in Toronto, and I was walking down into the subway, and I got this like pinch of like, oh, like it felt really heavy. It felt like almost like a contracting for the city of Edmonton. And she was just phoning me, and she's like, we need to know if you're going to take the position or not. And I was just like, but my brain, I just didn't know how to read my intuition back then. My brain was like, it's got all the boxes, just take it. Like, what do you, like, it's ridiculous. Like, this is such a good offer, you know? And so I took it, and I gave up because the other one came in as soon as I took it. Of course, the other one came in, and it was like a 6-month contract. So I'm like, am I going to move across Canada for a 6-month contract? That doesn't make any sense. But of course it was so light. It was fun. It was, you know, you could feel it. Anyway, I got to the city of Edmonton, and the first week I knew I had made the wrong decision. Right.
Okay.
And it was not a fun cup. I was there for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I really learned my lesson. And so now I'll so that's what, to me, intuition and knowing is really having the courage to listen to the feeling, and you almost get it in different ways. Like, your body will show you. And for me, and it's different for everybody. Like, for me, I get a contraction almost in my chest area. It's just like, no, like, don't do it, you know? And I now I can feel that, but it took a while to kind of be aware of that. Right. So it's in my body. And then with the tool of Access Consciousness, now I can ask, like, does that feel light or does that feel heavy? Because light, it's, you know.
Absolutely. And the other one that's really cool is, you know, if I choose this, what will my life be like in 5 years' time?
Yes.
Or beyond that, however you want to play with that tool. I mean, it's a great tool. And, you know, any doubt that comes into mind, it's always worth questioning as well. You know, if it's a distractor, if it's auto, you know, responder as well from previous times when we've made choices. For me, I know sometimes what I always associate it to be kind of like a fear. Say that it's actually excitement. It was totally the opposite of what I thought it was, you know, and
Mhm.
they say that the opposite, you know, everything's the opposite of what it appears to be. But, you know, is this going to be a contribution? And can you ever make a wrong choice? I mean, if we can keep choosing and keep creating, then we've always, I mean, that's a wonderful thing. We can, you know, is anything ever a bad choice? And, you know, what else is possible, you know, that I've never even considered before, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just keep choosing, interesting choice. What can I choose now? What can I
Mhm.
create now that I've never even considered?
Have you ever done anything else that's really led to, like, you listen to your intuition and then it was just like boom?
There's been so many. I was thinking about it before I came on the call tonight, and I couldn't pinpoint. I mean, there's been so many with um, when
So
we've bought our house and
right,
things like that. When we've looked at different properties,
right.
I've moved a lot in my years. As a child, we moved a lot. As an adult, and I've been married for 16 years. We've moved quite a bit. My husband works in London, so we had to
Mm.
relocate. And you know, buying houses, finding areas that I've always followed.
So how
And
do you know if you make, how do you know it's your intuition versus your brain working?
because I fizz, my body fizzes when it's so light. When the choice for me
Cool.
it does, it literally fizzes.
It
There's
fizzes.
no
Okay.
indecision. There's no indecision at all. There's
Yeah.
no kind of should I, shouldn't I, shall I, will I? Is none of that. It's just a knowing
Yeah.
with yeah, it just is. And I do, my body fizzes when something is really light, it tingles.
I love that.
And it goes like that. Yeah, I say I'm fizzing.
Well, I know one of my best friends, actually, we were roommates in Calgary. And all of a sudden one day she's like, I'm moving to Vancouver. Like, I'm out of here. I can't stand the winter. And so she got a sense like I need to be there. And it was just like she followed it. Boom,
Yeah,
boom, she was in Vancouver.
yeah.
2 months. And of course, in Calgary, she had been dating all these men and like nothing was working out. And I had a partner for about 7 years. So like I felt so bad for the guy because he had to date, he had to go and meet all these random guys for quite a few years, right? Anyway, like, poor guy. I don't remember their names because she always had a new boyfriend. And so what happened is she goes to Vancouver. 2 months later, she meets this guy, and he's from London, England.
Okay.
And she had always told me, she's like, if I could do anything, I would love to take my master's in drama at RADA in London, England.
Ah,
She
fabulous.
always said that.
Yeah.
So like, boom, she meets this guy. And then he's like, you know, they had this communication. She's like, you need to come to London. And boom, she went. And, you know, they've been married now for 15 years. They have 4 kids. Like, they have this beautiful life together, like a cottage on Gambier Island and gorgeous house in, you know, near UBC in Vancouver. Like, so it's just, she followed her intuition and her knowing. And I just think that's so cool. She had the courage to do that.
Absolutely. And I think that's what it is. It's just trusting, it's having your own back.
Yeah.
You know, really, because that is part of the wisdom leadership skills, I guess, is trusting, having your own back. And when you follow what is really true, your intuition, what you know to be true. And like I said, for me, there's just no indecision. But for me, there's also no right or wrong choice.
Yeah.
Um, but most certainly, it's a faster, easier, more ease road when you trust that.
Well,
And it's lighter.
And I'm gonna read a clip from my book. It says that the intuition is a natural power that we possess,
Yeah,
and one that makes it possible to know that something is even right without proof or evidence. We know something without proof or evidence. So some call it a courage to listen to your senses, like a feeling, and to act without fully understanding why, except you know it feels right.
absolutely. Yeah, I get that. And
Oh,
when someone's ever asked me a question, if I've been in facilitation, that I love it when you just know, and you can't, like you've just said, you know, from the extract, you can't explain it. You just know it. I know that. I know that to be true, as I know my name is Anna.
yeah,
That is when I know something is just, and there is no kind of looking for that light or heavy either, actually, because you just know.
yeah. It's in the
But when
pretty.
I'm, you know, when I am searching a little, if you want to call it searching, when I go, okay, is that light or heavy? And I will get, you know, the similar response. But sometimes those ones that are just so, whatever it is that you just know, I love that. There's no even pause for thought, pause for checking, if you like, checking in with yourself. With the lighter heavy, you just know it. You just know it.
Well, and I wonder, in the society, we're not, there's a lot of things you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to, so people stay in jobs, or they stay in relationships, or they stay in a home, or they stay in a city because it's just what you're supposed to do. And, how do we help those folks that just, they know that there's something else better for them, and they're so, kind of stuck in like, well, this is
it's how it's supposed to be.
This is how it's supposed to be. I just have to, do it.
And that's the projections as well. I mean, I can relate to that through having this house, on a recent area really with the house and getting builders. It's a big project. We're spending a lot of money, the amount of people, including my family. You need to do this. You need to get at least 3 builders quotes. You need to and so many other people's points of view that are coming into play. And I had to clear that and trust and follow what I knew was going to work for me. Follow my intuition with that. And one of them being from family as well. When you pick up your family's points of view on how things should be, there would have been a time when I would have taken that on board. And I'm not saying it wouldn't have been a contribution, but I still checked in with myself to see if I needed to do this, that, and the other. Okay. And they weren't my points of view at all, as it was.
That's awesome. So you just kind of said, who does this belong to? Who does this belong to? Return to sender.
Absolutely. And all of the projections, especially when you're aware, because the projections, you really do come into your field.
Yes.
You're so aware of everybody else's point of view. And it is, okay, so everything that I've concluded, all the points of view that I'm aware of, just go in and create them all, right and wrong, good and bad. If I was choosing for me, what would I choose?
And all the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, rejections, about creating for your life, creating what's going to make you happy in your relationship, in your work, and with your body, where you live. We destroy and create all of that.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyond.
I mean, it's too bad that we can't just allow ourselves and give ourselves the permission to follow, because the people that have followed are having these, they're having a lot of fun in life, and they're just like, whoa, this is awesome. But they took they had the courage to do that. And
absolutely,
I would love everyone to have that much fun, right? Like, even if it's crazy, like, I mean, I've gone, backpacking to Australia and New Zealand because I just got the feeling I needed to do that. And like, what an amazing experience. Like, I'll have the rest of my life. And
and I've heard other people who said that, and I could probably see this play out for myself in different situations where they followed what was light. And it's when you have an expectation of how it's going to show up, and it doesn't show up in the way that you expect it to. And then you think you've made a wrong decision, when actually, if we keep playing and continue to follow what was light and true for us, we would, it would unfolded as it would have done, and sometimes that's where we can stop ourselves, because it hasn't shown up as we thought it was going to, and yet, I've heard that a lot with people, when they say, well, I've followed my lightness, I've followed what was true for me, and yet it didn't show up as I thought. So, to continue and follow on with what was light. Sorry, did that make sense? I've kind of gone on.
No. What I was getting from that is
stop yourself, even if it doesn't show up as you expect it to. Just follow what's light.
And I don't want to say but if you're taking a different road, what you're doing is you're kind of creating a different path that doesn't exist, right? So it's almost like if you're, I do a lot of hiking, and it's like, if I'm trailblazing through a different path, it isn't necessarily going to be like, well, here's the road and this is what you do. You're creating the road. So, there is going to be it's not just going to be like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, boom. Right. So that's kind of what I'm hearing from you. So everywhere that people think that as soon as they choose what's light and their intuition, that it's going to be just magic and easy, and that, you know, if someone's going to magically give them all the steps, you know, can we get rid of all those expectations?
Absolutely. And everything that is destroy and uncreate times gazillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and park, all nine shorts.
And how do we make it ease, you know, regardless of still moving forward? How can we make creating your life and following your intuition with ease and joy, you know, and everything that doesn't allow that, can we just create?
Absolutely. Right and wrong, good and bad. Pod and park, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
I kind of want to,
if we didn't, yeah, sorry.
Go ahead. No, I just kind of want to shift to like the leader. So we've been talking about personal leadership on this call, and we have few more minutes left. I want to shift it to like, okay, so now that you're, you know, you definitely want to do this internally, but how about if you're, you know, you're working with clients, or, you know, you're Dane or you're Gary, you know, or you're, you know, even a mastery, like let's take it out of consciousness. Like you're an emergency doctor and a patient comes in and you're, you know, you need to make a decision, or you're, you know, on the battlefield, or you're, right. Like all of those people that are, you know, CEOs, like they have to make a decision on the dime.
Yeah.
And they don't have all the information. So what do you do?
Well, you have to just trust and act in that moment, I guess, don't you? Without any point of view about what is right or wrong, and just follow that. You know, you wouldn't have pause for thought to kind of, you know, to think about the bigger picture. You would just have to follow. And I think, to be honest, instinctively, you know, the gut reaction comes into play anyway when you're in a situation that, you know, requires you to be, you know, in charge or take the lead in that moment, in whatever scenario that is. You know, you just choose that, and those that will follow that will, and those that won't either, you know. But it's always it's taking the lead, and I think showing the confidence then has an impact on everybody else around you anyway. You know, and anyone who is, you know, who's really using their skills in that area, it really does gives confidence to other people, and that will knock on effect within their environments too, 100%. You know, and you see the change within other people, and it's like in sessions with people, you know, you see it kind of follow through, and they become the leader, and then the knock-on effect it has on them, and so forth, without being a leader, if you like. You know what I'm saying, sort of thing. Yeah.
And so clearing for that is like something's coming up around, you know, anything that's, I mean, I don't know if it's an oath or not. It's an oath. I think it's just judgments. I think it's just, you know.
Yeah, and anyway, you're not willing to be the leader.
Yeah, anywhere that you're not willing to be the leader that you truly are, and have the knowing that you truly have in that moment when you can take that decision or make that decision or move forward and with ease, you know, anything that isn't getting in the way of that. Can we just create that?
Absolutely. Right and wrong, good and bad, put and park, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
Well, what's coming up with me is that, you know, often when you're, I don't know if this has come up in my life anyway, but if I'm, you know, and that's why Gary says have 5 projects going at once. But if you're moving forward and you're trying things and you're doing things, it's easier to kind of like, oh, I can go and do this, or I can go and do this. But if you're sitting back and kind of just waiting, okay, well, it's just a different energy.
Absolutely. It becomes very stagnant as well.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, you look at people that have, you know, a friend of mine's a physicist and he's always doing experiments, or, you know, you look at a fire person, or, you know, you look at someone in Access doing courses, like they're constantly creating, and then boom, something's magic, right?
Yeah.
Because they're on that path and they're just like, yeah, I can choose that. I can choose that. I can choose that. And I think it's almost like being in the choosing and willingness to be in that kind of energy, which we're calling chaos right now.
Yeah.
Allows your intuition to practice without thinking. It's almost like a doctor being in the emergency room, like, okay, we got another patient, right?
Because you're just being. You're not thinking, you're not doing, you're just being. And you know, and the possibilities that keep showing up, and they will continue to keep showing up and showing up and showing up.
Yeah.
As you keep, it's like all the little doorways or the little paths just keep opening up when you're in that creative space, trusting yourself and just following.
Yes.
You know, and it just keeps opening. The possibilities that show up are amazing.
Yeah.
And you know, and if we're not creating, a lot of us, you know, you do create a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Well, you can do, and you know, so let's create something.
So anything that doesn't allow us to be creative and create and be in the chaos and being in that energy of just constantly choosing, and so we can just read our intuition just on a moment's notice. Anything that gets in the way of all of us doing that with total ease at all times with joy, let's just get rid of all of that.
All of that, destroy and uncreate it all. Thank you. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and park, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. And obviously the chaos is big within Access right now, and I can really see how that's filtered for myself. And it's the points of order that we keep in place, that we have to do things in a certain way to, you know, reach the end, you know, whatever we're trying to create. And it's like getting rid of all the points of order we have, receive the chaos, and what can we, you know, where will we end up? It's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So where else do we want to go from this? Like I had talked about in my book, kind of, you know, I talked about the leaders, and then I talked at a personal level. I call it I love this. Listening to one's intuition is the art of knowing. It's an art. It's a subtle dance that does not follow hard and fast rules.
Yeah, love that.
It is not to ignore rational thought, but to listen to its dialogue with what your gut is also telling you, and recognize the intuition that comes when you're able to both hear your intuition and you know, and the rationality within your mind. So Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, you know, he did that because of his intuition. Like how many times did he fail? And then it just finally clicked, right?
Yeah. No, that's fab. And it is your body as well, isn't it? You know, what did your body communicating to you as well? You know, when we listen to our body as well, as, you know, that's all part of, your body's such an awareness machine, you know, and it, you know, what's your body trying to tell you? You know, like when you spoke earlier and said about trusting your awareness with your job and what have you, you know, it was your body that went into reaction, or showing you or communicating with you. And for me, like I said, my body literally fizzes when it's just so light and bubbly and joyous to choose something. It's different, and it's looking for those different kind of signs, if you like, you know, for what is, you know, contributing to your intuition, that knowing. There's different areas for me personally. Yeah, but your body is a huge contribution.
Yeah, your body is.
Yeah, it's like when you dance, you know, you just move. You don't have any instructions. When you hear music, you just move. And it's the same thing with your intuition. You just follow it.
I love that. So it's almost like it's a dance.
Yeah, I like that.
It's a dance. Like
I'd quite like to dance through life. That would be.
And when you're dancing, it's not like someone's yelling at you, like, dance, you know?
You have to do it like this.
You should move your feet this way. Like, oh, dancing is just so beautiful and flowing and freeing and
absolutely. And I think, you know, with our intuition, we have been so programmed to, you know, from the points of view from what we've grown up with, from our peers, from friends, from family, on how things should be. And it's only when you really start taking charge of your own self, really, and listen to your knowing. Your body shows you too. It does show you signs when you're not. You know, so yeah.
Well, and I have a house in Edmonton, and I have it up for sale right now. And so because I'm creating a life. All I know is that my knowing is that it's near water and it's near mountains and it's like, you know, it's near some amazing people and it's warm, you know. So that's such a knowing. Like, it's just like, oh.
So have you already created that then? Is that already there?
Somewhere. It's, it's already there. Like, I'm going to know. Yeah. It's either, and I don't want to be in conclusion of where it is, but it's been created. And so, you know, my knowing is like, and so it'd be interesting to tap into this. You know, what is getting in the way of my house, you know, finding a beautiful new owner? Like, what is anything getting in the way of that? And that could be an oath. And sometimes we probably have oaths, and that's why it's like they feel like they're kind of this rock in the middle of your path. It's like, there's this out there and you have a full intuition, but there's like this thing sitting here and you're like, what is that all about?
So what is that? What do you know? What do you know? What is that?
So to me, my knowing is just, it's trying to hold me back from creating this incredibly beautiful life.
Yeah. So every way you see it is holding you back. Can you let go of that and destroy and uncreate it all, please? And everything that is right and wrong, good and bad, pod and park, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds, and all the projections, rejections, expectations, separations, and judgments, decisions, conclusions that you've placed upon the house as holding you back. Can you let them go as well, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and park, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And would you be willing to receive from your house?
Oh, absolutely.
And everything that would like to give you.
Absolutely.
Literally hand out and receive what it's trying to give you.
And anything else that anyone else on the call that's like has a block in their life that they see this amazing life they're creating, and it's just right at their fingertips. It's just kind of like you just need to reach out and grab it, like it's right there.
Absolutely. And it's always what's right about this that I'm not getting. Always, the first question to play with, and truth is, it's still light for you to be there right now. Truth, is that light for you?
No.
All the points of view that you have to leave, destroy and uncreate all of those. And then what is this? Truth is, it oaths and vows.
Yeah, it is. So again, and there's just so much energy around this. So this is about my house, but I can feel it that there's people, there's blocks everywhere that there's, for let's do this house, but again, and anyone else that it's impacting that has something that's there's an oath,
that's not shift.
Oath, swearing, fealties, communities, commitments,
binding and bonding contracts. Okay, so should we do that? Would you like me to do that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that's all of the oaths, vows, fealties, communities, blood oaths, swears, binding and bonding contracts, commitments, and anything else that I haven't mentioned to your house. Are you willing to revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, destroy, and uncreate all of that?
Yes.
Billion, right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
Wow, that was
okay.
Awesome.
Lighter or the same?
Lighter.
Okay, cool. I'll run it again. So all the oaths, vows, fealties, communities, blood oaths, swears, binding, bonding contracts that you've made to this house, past, present, and future, throughout all time, space, dimensions, realities. And we revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, destroy, and uncreate all of that times good thing.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, pop, call on, shorts, boys, and beyond.
Wow, thank you. Again, one more time.
Yeah, all the oaths, vows, fealties, communities, blood oaths, swears, binding and bonding contracts, commitments, anything I haven't mentioned, past, present, future, revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, destroy, and uncreate all of that. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, pop, call on, shorts, boys, and beyond. Okay, and truth is, there an energy with you too in the house that wants acknowledging?
Yes.
Okay, so can you acknowledge the energy?
Yes.
And would you be willing to receive from the energy?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And truth, who are you? Truth, you before that, truth before that, truth before that. Truth in the future, truth, what are your jobs? What were all your jobs before that? What will all the jobs be in the future? Thank you. You can go now, right, wrong, good, bad, pop, off, call on, shorts, boys, and beyond. Okay. Is that lighter?
Yeah. Oh my God. Incredible. Okay. Incredible.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, off. I could see there was like an energy, and it's like they look, energies are everywhere in any form, in any format, whether it's in a piece of furniture, whether it's in your business, whether it's in an old relative who's passed away, lifetimes, whatever. It's all the same, and the house as an entity on its own. And I've had to talk to my house too with the energies, because it's been changing like you wouldn't believe. But that's kind of veering off from where we're at tonight with intuition and knowing. But again, you knew that there was something there, so that was following your intuition and knowing, and knew that there was a block, and there may be more to just play with that. But you can change everything.
Yeah, you can. Right? You really can.
You really can. Everything has changed.
Yeah.
But how does that feel? Does it feel lighter? Is there anything else?
So lighter. It feels so lighter. Yeah.
And again, it's like, what energy, space, and consciousness can me and my body be to gift this house everything it requires and desires? It's totally enduring, and it doesn't allow that. And, you know, everything bottom line is receiving. It's about receiving and receiving the energies that you're aware of.
Yeah.
So again, your intuition and being aware of what's going on around you. Receive it, barriers down and receive it. And okay, so what can I do to change this?
Yeah.
You know, what is this? What can I do with it? Can I change it? And if so, how? And those energies are just so potent.
Yeah. Oh, that's
you
beautiful.
You just be the energies of that, and it starts to dissipate.
Yeah. Well, and that is amazing. And what's coming up for me now is like part of acknowledging yourself is also allowing yourself the space to be able to hear what's coming up.
Absolutely.
And even this call, it's just like, it's giving us such beautiful space. And like, and there's actually a second part in the book that I have that's actually inviting you to a bit of a personal, like a retreat, like going somewhere on your own without your family or your job, or you're somewhere beautiful and just, you know, doing an energy pull. And so for people that don't know what that is, it's just pulling all the energies of what you're creating in your life. And so pulling that. But when you're in the retreat, you know, when you're walking on the beach or you're going for a hike or you're going for a swim, or it's starting to listen to the whispers that are coming up and trying to just like.
Absolutely. And I think if something isn't changing, or you know, something is sticking a little, it is barriers down, and what am I not willing to receive, or what am I resisting?
Yeah.
You know, because we do resist what we know as well, you know, our intuition and our knowing, and quite often we're not willing to receive it. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes I'll be in that space and I'll feel a little contracted. Yeah, I'm aware of something, but I'm not quite sure what it is. And I always ask the question, you know, what am I not willing to be aware of here? Yeah. That if I was willing to be aware of, would change this.
So, and what came up for me right now is like, what am I willing to be aware of? Well, that I can't have, I mean, I have a beautiful life here, but there's something else that is even better, that is already created. And it's just like, part of what I'm not willing to receive is that even better life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's like, oh, you should be just happy with what you have. You know, you have your family close by and you have this house that's beautiful, and like, you know, you've got some great friends here. And it's like, yeah, but there's this something else, and I'm not, what's coming up.
Yeah,
I'm not willing to receive it.
And you know, truth, I mean, is that true that you're not willing to receive it, or truth is the points of view that you're aware of that, you know, loads of people say, you know, we do quite well. My husband's got a good job. We don't live a lavish lifestyle, although I'm now ready to choose that.
Right.
I haven't been willing to choose that because of a lot of other people's points of view, you know. Oh, well, you've got enough. You have da-di-da. What you just said for yourself, you know, well, you've got a great life, you know. And it is all of the other people's points of view. And what
return to sender with consciousness.
Absolutely.
Like, please.
You know, everything that is return to senders. And would you be willing to, you know, to be judged for your choices, and follow, you know, to follow your intuition and your knowing, and knowing that there's more for you. And it is about gratitude too. It's being great. You know, the gratitude always creates more anyway, but you know, people do, there's so many other, you know, in this reality, it is, you know, you have enough. Yeah. It's okay, you know. Right? You don't need any more than that. You have, you know, it's like, okay, cool, but I'm going to choose that now. I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
Yay. I know it's possible. We can all choose that.
And I think that's what's so important about the retreat, is being away. It doesn't necessarily have to be away in the city, but it's just, it's either choosing to be with people that can handle the new reality that you're creating, or being alone in a beautiful environment in nature that can handle it. You know what I mean? So then you can create it. Because there's a book that I've read called The Upper Limit. And it's like, we all have this upper limit on what we can create in our life. And to move it past that upper limit, it's, you do have to just be willing to receive it. Yeah.
Yeah. And being willing to step in. Yeah. And be willing to be the energy that's required. Yeah. You know, and if that, you know, lowering your barriers and receiving the judgments from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with no point of view. And then when we have no point of view, then it will change. It has such a knock-on effect on everybody else around you anyway. And you know, what invitation is for more for those around us when they see us choosing that.
Oh, wow.
You know, I mean, that's the beautiful thing, and that's what, you know, that's what creates the joy when we're truly, you know, as Dane says, being you, changing the world. I mean, there's nothing more powerful than that, really, or more potent.
There isn't. And
It's so true. And when
yeah,
people see that, it's an example, and they say, "Oh, I like that. I'm going to have some of that as well." You know, and it's that, you know,
it gives them permission to actually choose fully for their life instead of just being
and I've seen it with
comfortable and safe and you know, my life's pretty good. You know, it's giving them that permission to be like, actually, I want this. I desire this. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and how often have we not chosen what we've known to be really true and light and bubbly for us because of what other people have thought? You know, to kind of equalize
everything
them,
that
you know, that is
can we destroy and create all of that?
Absolutely, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine short, and beyond.
Well,
yeah, you know.
Yeah, thank you. This I think this is kind of feels like we've kind of done, you know, on the personal level, we've done it on more of a leader level, and then we've kind of gone the retreat piece, and so I kind of see the full loop happening. But anything else that you want to say? I think this is good for.
No, I just want to say thank you, Chantal, for the series, you know, and what can we create, and who else would like to join us next time? You know, what contribution can we be to each other, and transform our world? Yay!
Well, I think that's true because, you know, part of why we're doing this is just to honor each other and leader that we are. Right?
Yeah. And thank you, because for me it's you know, it's a possibility to step in and share. You know, for myself and receive from you. So I really appreciate that, and anyone else who's listening on the call. You know, we will have received all of the energies from that too, and from Jenny, who's been contributing all the way through. You know, and for everybody else who's shown interest. You know, we had a class last weekend. There were so few people on the class.
Yeah.
The contribution that was created, and we all know that, you know, energy just goes everywhere, and we're already within a class sometimes when we're not physically in the class anyway, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
So we download before we even arrive, you know.
Absolutely. So yeah.
Thank you, Chantal.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I think we can call this a day. And so next week we have the third quality. So is around creating a safe environment. So I just think what I love is that there's contribution from everyone on the call, because the whole point, this is a different kind of call. We're all leaders. So it's all about taking leadership in the call as well.
Absolutely.
And facilitating each other, which I absolutely love. And so how have we created safe spaces for other people? Because, you know, let's be honest, I've worked in a lot of organizations, and there's a lot of leaders that don't create safe spaces, or, you know, colleagues or friends, and it can have really devastating effects. So, you know, so it's such an important quality. So anyway, thank you for today. And just, I'm excited for next week, and just seeing what's going to happen with this whole series and what we can create. You know, it's just kind of exciting. And
absolutely. And how does it get even better than that? Yay! Thank you, Chantal.
All right. Okay. Awesome.
Okay. Bye.
Have a fantastic day. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Chantal. Bye-bye.